Oh, okay.
Okay, so welcome to class 16. I think. Yeah, today we have a few things to get through. So, I mean, as always, I'll go ahead and I'll go through what we have to cover. And if you have any questions, you can ask me. Okay, so today, what we're going to do is we're going to review, we're going to go over the terminal, we'll go over some terminal commands. We'll go over get, we'll talk about what get is, we'll talk about GitHub, and we'll build up, I guess, our first Git repo. So, I mean, a lot of things to get through. I guess one thing I should mention is that like previous knowledge is not really important to understand what we cover today. So that should hopefully be very helpful.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I guess the thing is, as we go, Git and GitHub is everybody uses it, regardless of like the language and stuff like that. So it's not like a particular language; it's just like a general thing everybody uses. So you don't need to know one language to be able to do Git and GitHub. So, but before we go on, any questions from our last meeting?
No questions.
Okay, cool. So, the last time we briefly spoke about the terminal, we said the terminal was a place where you can type commands that causes an action. We looked at a few examples of the terminal. We looked at a few examples of things we can use to type those commands. We spoke about just the terminal on Mac. You have the terminal on Windows. It doesn't have inbuilt terminal, so you have like other things like you have like CMD, the command prompts. We spoke about get bash. We spoke about shell. We spoke about the CLI. So these are different types of, I guess, terminal environments you can use to type commands. So you can access the terminal using any of these resources, but I guess the recommended one for us is Git Bash and WSL. So WSL is for Windows, and Mac has an inbuilt terminal. So we already have Git Bash set up. Git Bash is more than good enough. Some people later on prefer to use WSL, but I mean, I still use Git Bash. I think it's fine enough. So just to quickly go over some terminal commands, I'll open up my terminal window. So by default, PWD just shows you what folder you are in. So if I type PWD, it just shows me that I'm in my root folder. So just the dash means I'm in my root folder. So for example, if okay, I guess when we go on, we'll look at more things. So I'm in my root folder. We spoke about how we could list out the different folders. So okay, so PWD just shows you what folder you are in, where you are. We said we can create a folder by using the make there. So mkdir, it creates a new folder. So I probably want to just let me just go to my desktop and create it there just so that it is easier. So 1 second. By the way, do you have it open? I mean, so that today you're able to, I guess, type along or code along.
I'm coming. I'll try and connect my second screen. I wasn't able to connect it. Okay.
Okay. I mean, I'll give you a few minutes try and set it up.
Yeah. I was on the ground floor, but I'll go upstairs.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you're on your phone currently.
No, not on my phone. Not my phone. I'm using my laptop, but like I was on the ground floor.
Oh, okay.
Because I had to check something, but
Okay,
like
cool.
later, but it's okay. I'll just go. So you can just continue. I'll get there in like a minute and then I'll set up.
Okay, cool. So PWD just shows you what folder you're in or what directory you're in. So let me just switch to my desktop, then I can create the folders there. CD. Okay, so I don't want to just create the folder everywhere, so I'm changing to One sec, give me a second. Okay, cool. So I just wait to, I guess, the coding class deck. So PWD will just show us what folder we're in. So right now I say that I'm in my desktop projects and I'm in the NextGen coding class folder. So that's the folder I'm in. So PWD will show you what folder you're in. We said make there can, if you want to create a new folder, use the make there keyword. So if I did mkdir class, I already have class 16. So let me do today's class. So if I do that now, I've created I've created a directory called or I've created a folder called today's class. So we said we can move into it by using cd. Cd is for change directory, so I can change directory into today's class. So now I'm in today's class. So if I do PWD, I mean, it's already listed, but you can see that now I'm in NextGen coding class and I'm in a folder called today's class. We said that, and when I ls, right, when I ls, we can see that currently there's nothing in the folder. The folder is empty, so nothing pops up. We said that we can create a file using the touch keyword. So for example, I can create touch. Let me just create HTML, index.html. I mean, you can use touch to create any file you want. So you can create Word document, any kind of file. But let me just create an index.html. So now when I list it, you can see now in the today's class folder, we have a file called index.html. Yes, I guess these are the primary ones. Now, if I wanted to go back to NextGen coding class, since currently I'm in today's class, if I wanted to move up once, I could just dcd ... Then it will move me up by one level. So right now I'm in NextGen coding class. If I wanted to go back to my home directory, I could do cd, then use the tilde. And now I'm in my home folder. So this is the home folder. Then I could also, if I wanted to move back into desktop, I could move back into desktop. So I could change into desktop. Then if I wanted to see all the folders I had on my desktop, I could list it. So currently I have, I guess, only 3 folders. Then I could just do cd. Let me clear first. So clear just clears everything. Then I could cd into, I know on my desktop I have a projects folder. So I could cd into projects. Then I could cd into NextGen coding class. But the one thing is when you are doing folder names cannot take spaces. That's why I'm using like the slashes because folder names cannot have spaces between them. When you're typing them on the, I guess, in your terminal or your Git bash, you can't add a space. So if you want a space, you use the dash or use the slash. Yes. So cd into my thing, and we just created a folder called today's class. So if I cd into today's class, okay. So these are some of the commands. Now, some of the other commands we looked at was ls. Ls just lists all the files in. Let's just list all the files inside the folder. If you want more information about the folder, you could do ls.l, which will give you more information. So it says the time I created it, all those things, who created it. Cornelius created it on 29th April at 6:45. So ls-l will give you more information. Sometimes there are files or folders on your computer that you can't see, they are hidden because they are not ones you necessarily need, maybe just for your computer system to run. But if you want to see all of them, you can use ls.la. So if I do ls.la, I can just see like everything, even the hidden files there. And we said we can use the rm keyword to remove a file. So if I wanted to remove the index.html file we just created index.html. Index.html. So do rm. If I do rm, now if I list, we can see that it's empty. So I've deleted the file by using rm. Now, if I wanted to remove the whole folder, so if I go back one level, and now I'm back in NextGen coding class. So if I wanted to remove the folder we just created, which is today's class, I could just do RM. So if I do RM-R, then the name of the folder. Now, if I list it, we can see that we no longer have today's class. So I've deleted the folder. So that's how you delete a folder. So the difference between deleting a file and a folder is you add the -R keyword. Any questions so far?
I'm just curious, like, these things RMLSLA, do they stand for anything?
Yes.
I
So
mean, I can see like the make there is like make directory or something, but I'm just curious about the other ones.
yeah. So LS stands for list. So list it out. RM stands
Um,
for remove. So that's like short for remove.
yeah.
Touch. I mean, touch is just like create something. CD is change directory. So change the folder. I mean, CD stands for
Ah,
change directory. You can remove the directory with RM there. So MK there is make directory. RM there is remove directory. So I guess whichever people like came up with the commands is just like short form and stuff, whichever was convenient. So CD is like change the directory, CD, change directory, LS list,
okay.
RM remove, yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, I guess, and some of these, so if you want to clear everything, if you have a lot of things on your thing and you want to clear it, you can just use the clear keyword. Now, if you want to go back to the previous commands, you can just use the arrow top. So if I click on arrow top, it will start going through all the things I've typed recently. And if I want to arrow down, I'll come back to like the last thing. So there's nothing there. So if you type the command and you just want to go back to it, you can just use your arrow top keyword. Hey, no keyword, just the arrow top. And yeah, you can use that to navigate through all those things. Now, if you're in a folder, so I have a folder called class, I think 16. I'm not sure. Let me check. And see, I have a folder called class 16. Is it called 16? If not, okay. I mean, let's just create it right now.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Let's create, so if we want, so we want to create a folder for today's class, so we can do a make there. And we'll call it class 16 materials. So now if we list, we can see that we have class 16 materials over here. So now we've created a folder called class 16 materials. Now we can move into that folder. So we'll see the class 16. If you type most of the keywords, for example, if I do up to class 16, I can just press tab to complete it for me. I mean, the reason I won't start a class is because most of them have the class. But when I get here, I know that I'll most likely find it. So I can just press tab and it'll complete it for me. So that's how come it looks like I'm typing it quickly. I just use tab to auto-complete it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so CD into class 16. Now inside class 16, let's just create an index HTML file. So touch. So we create an HTML file. I mean, if you want, you can just create a CSS file, touch style the CSS. And if you're already in the folder and you want to open it in VS Code, you just do code and what you want to open. Since I want to open everything, I'll use the dots. If I wanted to open just the HTML file, I'll use index.html file. If I wanted to open just the CSS file, I'll do the code style.css, so open a CSS file. But I guess I want to open both the HTML and CSS, so I'll just do dots. Dots stands for everything. So when I press enter, it should open up the VS Code. And we can see our files, the one we created here and here. So those are some basic terminal commands. I mean, I guess you get familiar with them, like you remember them the more you use them and stuff like that. So it helps you like move quickly through like projects and like your computer and things like that. So you can use them. It's not only for coding, it's for anything. Like if you are navigating through your computer, you can either use your mouse and click on stuff, or you can use the terminal to move through stuff. whichever. It's just good to know like the terminal, because like when you're doing Git and GitHub, you use most of the commands are like terminal stuff. So yeah. Okay. So any questions over?
No.
Okay, cool. So let me just clear this for now. Okay, cool. So these are terminal. I hope it looks like today won't be here for long. I guess these things we can move through them quickly. So okay, cool. So now let's talk about Git and GitHub. So I guess the first question is, what is Git? So Git is a version control system. It allows you multiple people to collaborate. That sounds like a lot of things, but essentially what Git is think of when you're doing like maybe you're typing out like a Microsoft Word document. Most times what you want to do is you want to save it some way so that when you make changes, you continue saving it. You can always come back to it. Now, what if you wanted to work with multiple people in the same Word doc? You probably post it somewhere, or you send them a link or something like that so that you can all work together in the same Word doc. Essentially, that is what Git is. So Git is a version control system. It allows multiple users to collaborate on the same code base while keeping track of the changes made to the code over time. So Git just allows you to keep track of the changes you are making. It also allows you to be able to work with multiple people at the same time. So most people think GitHub is like Git is something complicated, but Git is just version control. It helps you to like keep track of the changes you are making, make other people have a place where other people can also work on the project. And GitHub is just a service for managing your Git. So there are several places where when you do this, there are several places where you can manage it. So think of if I have a Word document and there was like a service where I could put my Word document so that other people can also work on it. That would be like a GitHub. So Git is like your Word document. Then the places you can host your Word document is GitHub. So GitHub is just a service for Git repository. So when you create Git, you can host it on GitHub. So GitHub is just a place you can host your Git repositories. And GitHub is not the only one. There are like several other ones like Bitbucket and stuff like that. But I guess GitHub is the most popular one. It's owned by Microsoft. So it's just like an online service where you put all your folders and you post it there and other people can work in it. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So the way to install Git, but when we install Git bash, we've already sort of installed Git, so we don't need to install Git, but this is just like the command if you wanted to. You can go to this website and install Git bash or whichever Git system you want to use. I guess we've already done that, so we can skip. Are you at your computer now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I guess you can open your Git bash. Then we can set up Git so that we can start doing stuff. So if you open your Git bash, I mean, I think you can just search for it like Git bash. Yeah, you can just search for it and you can open it and we can start moving through it.
Yeah, it's open. It's open.
Okay, great. So great. So so far, do you understand what Git is and what Git bash is? The difference between the two?
Git
And GitHub, sorry.
GitHub.
Yeah, Git and GitHub. Does the different, yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
Git is the version management system. So what allows you to keep track of your changes. And GitHub is just the hosting service. It's a place like on the cloud where you can host all your Git repository. So it's like a service. And Git is the actual thing. So there are like other places aside GitHub you can use to host your Git repos. So like Bitbucket and all those things. So okay, great. First off, what you want to do is you want to sort of link your Git to your GitHub, since most times you just be using GitHub, so that when you push changes, I guess GitHub can identify that it is coming from you. So if you go into your Git bash, what you want to do is you want to, and let me just go back into my root directory. So if you hear any background noise, I'm at my mom's place. So if you see it into your, what you want to do first is you want to sort of link your Git bash to your GitHub so that anytime you push anything from here, it automatically go to like your GitHub. So there are two configurations you want to do. You want to, first of all, configure your username and configure your email. Now, the way you can know your username is if you, and I'll pull up my GitHub. 1 second, let me see. One second, let me just make sure that my password and things are not on screen since I'll be uploading the video. I remember you already have a GitHub account, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to also open.
Okay, fine.
Okay, I'm already signed in.
So if you're already in your GitHub, if you go into, so I guess when you open it, it usually brings you to, let me go back to, so it usually brings you to somewhere here. So if you click on your profile, if you click on this, you'll see profile. So if you click on profile, yeah, I keep clicking on profile, sorry. If you go here, if you click on this small icon here, then you go to settings. If you go to settings, you can come to public profile. When you come to public profile, you should see your name. And if you go to emails, I hope I'm not showing any sensitive information. If you go on emails, you should see the email which is linked to it. So back in the comments,
Yeah.
what you want to do now is you want to type the commands I have. So you want to type git config, then double global. So you want to connect it globally. In terms of like any project you do, you want to link it to your GitHub. So then user.name, you put the username. So the username is, if you come to, 1 second, that should, yeah, if you come here, this is your username. I think it's either this or this. Yeah, so you can use this as your username. So this is your username, the one which is listed at the top. So
In the brackets.
yes, I think so. Yeah. So if you do username space, then you type in your username here. I already have my link already, so. Okay, let me try.
Global user. Okay. And then the username in
Yes, a
parentheses.
string, yeah. So like quotation marks, yeah.
Okay, and I press enter. Let me see. Still git config. Okay. Okay, I don't know. Yeah, I just click enter, but I'm not sure what I'm supposed to see.
Yeah, so next, so then next type gets the next command and add the username, the email.
Git config again. Oh no.
Yeah, so these just exactly as it is, these two
Okay,
commands,
git
yeah.
config. Dash Google. User. And then my email, let me see, I think it's The
You know,
email, I mean, I know the email I used, but I'm not sure. I don't see it as you saw it in yours. But anyway, let me try my email and see if it will work.
so when you come to, you don't see access. So when you click here, you go to
Ah, okay, no.
settings. When you click on this small icon, you go to settings, then you
Emails.
come to
Oh, okay, I've
emails.
seen
Yeah.
it. Yeah, emails. Yeah, not visible. Okay, okay. 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 All right. Then
Okay. Is that, did you see, is it connected now?
what am I supposed?
No, no,
Can you
no.
show me what like I'm supposed?
So that's all. I mean, so after you just press enter, when you press enter, what happened?
Nothing. Just like another line again of like where I can type. Oh, it didn't show any. I'm coming.
Okay, let me just do it again. So email.
Hmm. Bash it command not found. Wait. Oh no, sorry. I made a mistake. Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay,
I got it. Yeah.
okay, cool. So now we can go over some Git commands and then we'll create a GitHub repo. So like we're saying, GitHub is just like a online place for online service for storing all our Git repositories. So most times we create our Gits locally, then we push them to the GitHub so that we save them on GitHub so that we can access them anywhere. Other people can also work in it. Now, the way we create a Git repositories, we use the keyword Git in it. So back in the folder we just created, let's say we had some style. So let me just go ahead and add some random things. Just use an H1. Let me get my other keyboard. Okay, so if we have this, now if we want to create a Git repo, all we do is, so when you press Control tilde, the thing next to one, it opens up when you're here, it opens up like the terminal here. And if you want to use Git bash, you can select Git bash. But when I'm in VS Code, I don't mind using PowerShell. So it's the same thing, so same commands, but when you're in VS Code, you can just use the inbuilt terminal. So when you press Control tilde, it will just open up the terminal. So if I open up the terminal, the way I create a Git, like I initiate a Git folder is by using the keyword Git init. So I'm initializing a Git repository. So when I initialize a Git repository, you can see that it says that I have initialized an empty Git repository. So now you can see that all these things have changed to green. What it means is that now these are folders, these are things that are not yet in the Git repository I initialized. So the way I create a Git repository is to use the keyword Git in it. Now you can't see it here because it's kind of hidden. But if you wanted to see it, we said you can use LSLA. you can use LSLA partial sometimes when I'm doing, you can use LSLA to see hidden files. So if I CD into desktop, I think it's called Next project. CD NextGen. CD 16 LSLA. So if I CD into it, you can see that even though it's hidden, but when I list all the hidden files, I can see that now I have a repository which is Git. So normally if I ls, it probably won't show up. So I can't see it's a hidden folder, but then I've initialized, I've sort of created a Git folder where now I can save all the things I will create, all the folders I'll create. I can also save it in that Git folder and then I can push it to GitHub. So the way you create that is by using the keyword, the word Git init. So when I get in it, I sort of initialize a Git repository. So when I initialize a Git repository is a place where all code files and their changes are stored. So you use Git init to create it. Like if I create it, now I can start adding my folders and my files and things to, or my files and folders to this Git repository. So the way I do that is I have the keyword git add and what I want to add. So back here, I can start adding this index.html and index style.css. So I can do git add index.html and I can add it. So now you see that it has changed to A, it means I've added. So when it's U, it means it's uncommitted. It's on track. So I haven't added it yet. So when I do A, it means I've added it to my Git repository. So if I push the Git repository, when we create the Git repo, what we do is we are keeping track of all our changes. So we're sort of like taking a snapshot every time we make a change. And the good thing about that is it's sort of keeping track. So if we want to revert back to something we did previously, we can go back to it and things like that. So if you want to add folders to the Git repo that we've initialized, you can do git add, then add the folder. If you want to add everything, so rather, if you just wanted to add all the files, you can just do git add and do the dot. So if I do the dot, I'll add everything to my Git repo. So if I go into the terminal, if I cd into Git, how I go to cd into Git? If I cd into .git, if I cd into .git and I list, you can see that I have index. I mean, it's a lot of things you don't have to worry about, but I have the folder, I have the file listed in the Git repo. So I'll just go back one up. So when you want to initialize the Git, use the Git init, then you can start adding your files to it. So git add will add to it. Git add dot will add everything in your current folder to the Git init, the Git folder. If you want to add a single folder, you just add then the name of the folder. Okay. Committing changes. So when you've added everything, and you want to commit it. So the difference between adding and committing is that when you initially add, what you are doing is that you are preparing the changes to be committed. So you are saying that I've made changes to this. The next time when I commit my Git init folder, add all these files to whatever I commit. So adding is just like you are preparing the changes to be committed. So adding is putting them in a staging area. So you are adding the files to a staging area. So that's what you add. Now, when you commit, it means that you are ready to like push. So this is my final change. I'm pushing everything. So when you do add, you add them to a staging area. When you commit, the things in the staging area are all the things which are going to be committed. So whenever you make a change, you want to add it to the staging area by doing git add. So when you've added everything to the staging area and you want to commit it, like this is my final changes that I want to push up. I want to save this finally. Use the git commit message. So what you do is you do git and not fit git commit -m and whatever message you want to add. So sometimes you can talk about the changes you've made. Maybe I made changes to this or that, but I guess we'll just add our message as first comment. So after you've added, you do get commit. Always don't forget to, if you don't
What does the
add,
M mean?
M is message. So the message you're attaching to the changes you've made. So message. Then yeah, if you don't add a message, you get stuck in what we call Vim. It's hard to get, I mean, it's easy to get out of Vim, but just Google how to get out of Vim. If you don't add the message, you'll get stuck. It'll open up another screen and you'll be stuck. When you type things, it won't come. It's called Vim. It's a whole different thing. So if you ever forget to do this, you'll be stuck in Vim. You can, I think, I always forget how to get out of Vim. So I always have to Google. But if you don't, you get stuck in Vim. When you're commenting, you add a message. So get commit -m, then in quotation mark, whatever message you want to add. So it could be anything. Maybe I made changes to the homepage or something. It can be descriptive, but we've not made any changes. This is our first comment, so we can just see our messages first. Comments. Are you doing it along?
Okay, no, let me also just do that part.
Yeah, were you able to connect? I mean, it's better if you do along. Were you able to connect to other screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess what you want to do is just create create a folder, add some files.
Yeah.
We'll push it to GitHub before we are done so that you see how it is pushed and how you can manage it and things.
Let me remember that. So I'm trying to remember how to create that folder again. The index.html, I think it's, yeah. And you said because it's index.html, then I added.
Okay, so let me just start everything so that we can do it together. So I'll close. I mean, we'll just do it together. So let me just close this. Let me clear this. Clear this. Okay, so let me just go up one. Let me remove the whole folder. I think it's called class 16 materials. Okay. Yes. Okay. Clear. Because I had the get initialized, they were like, so let me see if I still have it. Okay, so now I'll just start creating it from scratch. So let me just create a new folder called class 16. So make the, so I'm creating it in the NextGen coding class folder. So make the class 16
Okay.
materials. Already exist.
Oh.
Okay, let me call it class 17. Let's get one class ahead. Class 17 materials. Okay, so I've created a folder called class 17 materials. So let me cd into class 17 materials. So now I'm in class 17 materials. It's empty. So I can create anything, but let me just create an index HTML file and touch and CSS. So the way you create a file, I mean, folder is the whole thing. File is just a single thing. So if you want to create a file, you use touch, then whatever you want to create. So index, I could create like Word document. I know where I don't remember how the extension for Word documents. I think it's, yeah, but I mean, let me just create, I mean, you could even create like PDF. So index.pdf, it will create a PDF, but I just create HTML. Then
my make MK there didn't work. Let me see.
MK, no space between them.
Yeah, class 16 materials. Yeah, I don't know. Let me just.
So are you leaving spaces between the names of the thing?
No, I've tried to follow the same thing. Okay, let me try again. Oh. But they said cannot, I tried it again. They said cannot create directly to our existing materials. File exists. And then I tried CD. Ah, okay. I think I saw my mistake. It's okay.
Yeah.
I left out one S when I was doing the CD.
Okay.
That's why.
So I think let's okay, so I've created an HTML file. So let me just add a CSS.
Yeah,
So
I do.
touch index dot I guess let me just call this style dot CSS. So I've just created an HTML and a CSS file. That's all. I mean, you can do, I mean, I type them one by one, but you can do them on the same line. So for example, if you wanted to create multiple files, touch, if you wanted to add JavaScript, main.js, main to the JS, you just leave space if you want to create like multiple files. So,
Okay.
so now when I list it, you can see that we have all
Yeah.
the files.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, we don't need the main to this. I can just remove main to, what's it called? Main to. So I've removed, so now if I list. Okay, so if I now we've created index HTML, main.js and style.css. Now, if we want to open all this in VS Code, I mean, if we code, we use the code keyword, then whatever we want to open, if we want to open all of them, we use the dot. So if I do code dot, it will open all of it in VS Code for me. So
Okay.
yeah, at any point, if you need me to take it slow, just let me know. So now,
I tried the code dots, but it didn't open. It said command not found.
did
Code
you,
dot.
is this code space dot?
Oh, space. Wow.
Yeah. When I'm done, so I'll share the slide just so that you can look at the command as well.
Yeah. So you said it's supposed to open.
Yeah, in VS Code.
Let me see.
Check your other screen.
Oh, okay. Just I think.
Oh, by the way, are you in the class 70, whichever folder you created? Are you inside that folder? If you do code, it'll open like
Yeah.
all, yeah. So if you do code, it'll open that folder for you.
Yeah. I don't know why it's opened so many already before. Let me see. Oh, okay, it's here. Okay, it's open. Yeah.
Okay, so now we have it opened. Okay, cool. I mean, just because we committed to GitHub, let's just, so that we don't commit empty things. So let's just add maybe hello world or something. So if I do shift,
Was this shift and exclamation?
yes, when you do exclamation mark, control, if you do shift exclamation and
Yeah.
you just select the first and it'll autofill it for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, then I mean you can change the things you want to change. So if you want to add your CSS, you can do the link CSS, link it, link your CSS. Then I guess, I mean you don't have to add anything. I just don't want to commit an empty folder. That's why I'm just typing something inside.
Oh, okay.
Hello world. Then I can just make my H1 font size, I guess 30 pixels. Red. It's been a while since I've done it in CSS. Okay, so yeah, hello world. So now we have this. Now we want to push this to GitHub. So we want to save this thing in Git. Then we want to create a Git repository. Then we want to push our Git repository to GitHub. So the way we do is first we initialize a Git folder. So we're sort of taking a snapshot of the changes we've made. So the way we do that is we use git init. So we are initializing a Git repository. So git init init git init. So if you do git init, it'll tell you that it has initialized an empty Git repository in this folder. So now if you can see that all these things have turned green. It's saying that it's on track. So it means I'm not like keeping them in my Git repository. I'm not like tracking them. So even if I make changes in the future, I'll not be able to see what has changed. So it's on track. So but I have initialized the Git. Now, if I want to start tracking them, what I do is I do git add. So I'm adding them to the Git repository that I've initialized. So git add, you can add them one by one. So you can do git add index.html. But I mean, since we want to add everything, I can just do like git add, then space dot. Dot stands for everything. So if I do git add dot, it means I've added everything. So now if you can see that it says index has been added. It has changed from on track to A. So it means now I'm tracking them. Have you been able to do that?
I'm coming.
No pressure, no pressure.
Where? Going there. Shit, right? The INIT.
Initialize, so INIT.
Oh, initialize. Okay. Okay. It's dot this one also space before the dots.
Yeah, there's also they're all like keywords. So you're saying add, then what you want to add. So you have to leave space and tell it what you want to add. So
Okay.
I'm adding something. So it's not like one keyword.
Okay, I'm where you are now.
Okay. So git add. So now we've started tracking it. Now after we've tracked it, what we want to do is when we add it, we are staging it sort of. Now we are tracking it. So when we make changes, we can always come back to it. So when we add it, what we want to do now is we want to commit it. So sorry. So committing is like the final stage of saving like the changes in our local repo. So what you want to do is you want to commit it. So like you're saving your changes. This is the final stage. So you want to commit git space commit space -m being your message space, whatever message you want to add. Usually for the commit, the message is like what changes we've made to the code. That's what we usually use for the message. But since this is our first commit, we'll just call it first commit. The message we'll add is first commit. So git space commit space -m being like the message and the first commit. Then you press enter. So now when we press enter, what we've done is that we've sort of made the final changes. So when we push to GitHub, whatever was the last thing we committed will be what will be pushed to like the GitHub. So now
I got an error.
What error did you
I
get?
don't know.
Are you stuck in Vim?
I can't send you a screenshot, right? Let me see.
I mean, if
Let me try.
you can copy you can copy the error message and put in chat. So you
Okay.
can Control C and put in chat.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, so so if you can see, you use tilde, so you use this thing. For your
Instead
yeah,
of, oh yeah.
yeah, you used this one M instead
Oh,
of
okay. I
dash
didn't
M.
look.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Mm.
sometimes what you can do is if you have error messages like this and you don't know what to do, when I started, this is what I'll do. I'll copy everything. Like I'm copying your message. Can I copy?
No.
Let me see. Yeah, I'm coming. I should be able to copy. I hope it works. Okay, I think you can copy. Yeah, you can copy from.
Yeah, I had the same problem.
Yeah. Uh,
But I'm doing it again. Let me see.
yeah, so just change the. But I was going to say, usually when you have error messages like that, I mean, if you try and read it, you might know what, but if you don't know, just paste it in Google. Somebody probably has had
Yeah.
that issue before. So Stack Overflow, you'll
Oh,
find
okay.
how people help them solve it. That's how you get out of.
Okay.
Yeah. But this,
Okay.
yeah, is it working now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now that we've committed our changes, I should so I guess, okay, I think we've committed our changes. So we committed our changes. Now, if you commit your changes, what you want to do is most times you have a repo on GitHub that you want to save it in. So if you don't have a repo in GitHub, I guess the easiest thing to do is when you go on GitHub, what you want to do is you want to click on this, create new repository.
Mm.
And so when you click on this plus sign, it will come new repository. So when you click on new repository, you can give it a name. So, I mean, let's say you were creating a repository for all the code wars you'll be doing. So every time you do a code war, you save it there. You can call it
Oh,
anything, but let's class demonstration. Demonstration. So I'm just calling this repo class demonstration. And you can make it private or public. So private is that maybe you and only the people who have the link to this repo see. Public, when I come on your profile, I'll see. So when I
yeah.
create a repository, now usually when you create a repository, they have like commands. They show you what to do. Like so, if you come in your command line, what you want to do is you want to get init, get add, get commit, get branch. But since we've already done all those things, what we want to do is now we want to push the changes to this repository that we've created. So if we come back into here, or what I want to do is I want to copy the link to the repository. So if I copy it, when I come back into VS Code, what I want to do is, and what I want to do now is I want to push it. So I'll do, and just to show you, I want to do add the remote origin. So remote origin is where I'm pushing it to. So I've already copied the link, which was the link for by the way, have you been able to create a repository?
Yeah. But so the repository is kind of like a folder.
Yes, so it's a folder where you'll be saving all your Git things. So
Okay.
yeah, so if I guess I can show you some of my repos. So if GitHub. So if you come on my GitHub, like these are some of like my repositories. So this is the one I just created. I mean when I do photos, I put it here. When I do like these are some of like the works. Like so these are repositories which are like for tracking your changes and stuff like that. And if you're working in a company, most likely they'll have like a repo where everybody will be working out of. So if I should GitHub expensive, right? So if I show you Expensify's GitHub, so this is like Expensify's GitHub. These are all the work they've been doing, like everything they are building. So this is where like I mean, it's the reason I can see that it's open source. So when we say open source, it means that it's open to like the general public. I mean, most companies, their GitHub will only be private. So it's only like, they only give access to like their stuff. But this one is open source, so everybody can see. So this is where like whichever application they are building, this is all the code for it. So this is where the app will be pulling the code from. So this is the link to I guess, whatever they are building. We're past the break. I mean, let me show you this, then we can take the break. I was hoping we'll finish before then, but it's fine. Yeah. So for this particular application or whatever it is, this is the code for it. But the reason you use a GitHub is that now if I make a change to the code, it might break this thing because I don't know if there's like an error or something. So when you use GitHub, I mean, we'll talk about branches and stuff like that. So you make it, you can test it locally. If everything works before, then you merge it so that now you break it. So everything that is going on here is pulling from here. So this is the code for whatever is going on all over here. So these are all the people who are contributing to it. So I guess these are the employed people who are writing code for it. So then everybody's like, when you make a change, and there are things for like issues. So issues are like the things they need people to work on, or like the things somebody has to work on. So when you pick an issue, because everybody is doing it separately, like we need to have one place that we can all work out of. So these are the things they want to get done. Like these are some of the issues. Like they want to fix security issues. They want to add a chatbot. So these are the issues. So I mean, if I want to work on this issue, I can just pick it up. Then I write the code to fix it. But then when I fix it, I want to be able to see that it works. So when just in case they merge it and it breaks something, because we are hosting it on GitHub, we can go back to the previous version, which was working, and try and fix the new one before we put it together again so that it won't break like the whole application because like I made an error or something like that. So GitHub helps us like track our changes so that we can always have like a working version of our code. So that even when we add new things and it breaks it, we can always like go back to the previous one which was working. And when we make new changes to, we can have like people check it to see if everything is working before then we merge it into like our current code. So I hope it's not a lot of things, but we'll take a 5 minutes break. When we come back, we'll finish creating our first repo and we'll go over like branches and stuff like that. But any questions while else I set up the time? I hope it's not scaring you.
Well, it's a bit, yeah,
No, it's nothing.
takes time to
Yeah.
understand.
Okay. So we'll take a 5 minutes
But I
break.
mean, so far it sounds clear. It sounds clear.
Yeah. So, so it's nothing. I mean, when we come, I'll try and also break it down more so that you know that it's nothing. It's just like online. It's like you're creating a folder and keeping it to chat changes. So don't be scared. But I'll see you after the break.
Okay.
Yeah, hi, Emma.
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so any questions before I just go over, I guess some of the things?
No.
Okay, cool. So we're saying that the way we like to think about Git is usually when we're working on like Word documents and stuff like that, we save it. Now, if we wanted to work with other people, we have to find a place we can save it so that they can also work on it. Then we can also keep track of like the changes. So essentially that is the problem like Git is solving with code. So Git sort of creates like a tracker where we can track the changes we are making to our code, have other people work on it, and also just in case we want to like go back to previous versions, we can do it. So we said Git is a version control system. So it's just a fancy way of like tracking the changes that we are making. So what Git allows us to do is that it allows us to like take snapshots so we can like sort of capture like the last thing we did before then now thing we've done. So the last code we had before any current changes that we make to it. So we're sort of tracking it. So the way we track it is by making commits. So every time we make a commit, it has sort of like taking a snapshot. So if we make a new commit, we take a new snapshot. So now we can go back to like the previous commit. We can come back to the commit before that, just so that we know what was there before we added something new. Because currently, for example, when I have this thing, when I come and I make changes to it and I save it, there's no way that I know what was there before I came to add this thing to it. So there's no way of me like tracking it. So if you have like a big application and somebody comes and they just add something to it and now it is not working, how will I know what they added to it? How do you know what new thing the person came and they added to it? I mean, right now it's a small application, so you can tell that I just added HHH, but I think it was like a very big application, like the Expensify one I showed you. How would you know like what change somebody has made, who made the change? If something is not working, how can you track it? Things like that. So that is the problem Git is essentially trying to solve. So when we commit things, we are making snapshots and Git allows us like we can roll back to previous changes and things like that. And we say the way we initialize a Git repositories, we use the Git init keyword. So when we do Git init, we initialize a Git repository where we can now start tracking our changes. Now, the way we start tracking it is by first adding the folders adding the folders and files that we want to track. So we do git add to add them to our Git folder. So when we git add, we can add individual folders or add everything by using the dot. So git add index.html, anything we want to add. If we want to just add everything in like a particular folder, like the way we're adding everything in this class 17 materials, we just do like git add. Now we said that the main thing Git is trying to do is trying to like take snapshots. So like capture what we add now, so that if we want to roll back to it, we can always come. Now the way we take the snapshot or the way we take the picture is by committing it. So when we commit it, we sort of like captured it. So the way we commit it is by using the commit keyword. So git commit, then the message. So most times I said the message will be what changes you've made to it.
Come again. The last part, the line was not too
So
good.
sorry. So I was like git commit, then -m. Usually the message will be what changes you've made to it. So most times they say your message should be as descriptive as possible. Because when you commit it, it'll come with a message. So when I look at it, I should, I guess, hopefully be able to tell like what changes you've made to the code. But I guess right now we've not made any big changes. So I'm just saying that our message is first commit. So now when I commit it, I've sort of like tracked it, like I've taken a picture of it, like the current state of the code when I commit it. Now, if we want to save it on GitHub, what we can do is that then we can now push it onto GitHub. Like we can push it into a repository on GitHub where now we are saving it. So we are saving it like, I guess, in the cloud. And the way we can save it is by creating a folder. So we can create a folder. We can create a folder here. I mean, you can call it anything. So when you come here, new repository, it will tell you to create the name of the new repository. Now you can see when you create the repository, it tells you like what you are supposed to do. So they assume that first of all, you create the repository before you are writing code, then you want to now push everything. So it says that if you've done this before, all you need is this. But if you are then you go through all the process that we've done. So git init, get add, you can add a readme. So usually readmes are for like what the project is about. So that when somebody comes into your repo, they know that this is an application that does this and this if you want to run it. Like most times you want to have a readme so that even people, especially if you're working with people, readme is like what this whole project is about. So
like a description.
yeah, description. And I guess I'll show you a readme. I'll show you one readme before we go. So but I mean, when you start, because when you're starting, you don't really have any files. So I guess the only thing you can add is readme. But as we are like index HTML and stuff like that, so we can add it. Then you commit it with your message, and you branch. So branches are, and I guess I have a note for. I mean, we'll talk about branch. So now all we want to really do is that we want to add it to this demonstration folder that we created. So you have the link here. So what we want to do is, I guess, let me just copy the link. So when I go back here, I can do get branch main. So all I'm saying is that I want to add it to the main branch, and I'll explain it. I'll explain it before we go when I talk about branches. So I'm pushing this, I'm saving it in the main branch. So main branch. And now then what you want to do is you want to get remote. And by the way, have you already created, you've created it, right? You've created this thing. Okay. So what get remote add is going to do is that it's going to like sort of set a link between this folder and whichever code you have. So the first time so you're sort of linking this code to like that folder, so that now every time you make changes, you'll go directly into that folder. So the first time you do that, but subsequently you would have already linked it. So you don't always have to do like get remote add. So when I do, I just copied, so I just paste it. So when I do get remote add, what I'm saying is that now I want to link that folder, this folder, the class demonstration folder, to this like local get I created. So anytime I push changes, I want it to go into that folder. So when I get remote add this, now I've linked it. And now the final thing is to push it. So the last stage is to get push dash you. All right. And these things, don't worry, you don't have to memorize them. It's the more you type them, it's always the same thing. So you get used to them. So get push you origin main, I think. So I'm pushing it to origin main, yeah. So now if I do this and wait for it to quickly load up. And don't worry, I'll go over it again. So now I'm pushing the change. I'm pushing it. So now when I push it, if I come back here, and I refresh, you can see that now I have the code inside the repository, and then it has the message. So if I open it, it'll be the code we just wrote. So we can see the index.html. So now I've saved it inside my repository. So now I have it saved on GitHub. So even though I have the local Git, which is tracking my changes, now I've pushed it to GitHub and I'm saving it on GitHub. So now like I can even send you this link and you can access it. So let me just go over again. So let me clear this. So the first thing you want to do is when you have a project locally and you want to start tracking it, you initialize the Git repo. So you do Git init. After you've initialized the Git init, like the local Git repo, you can start adding the things you want to track. So you can add whatever you want to add. If you want to add every file, you want to track all the files, you can add all the files. Now, for example, if I made a change to this, like let me add a paragraph. This is the world. If I made a change to this now, you can see that because I've made a change to this, now I have to track it again. So you can see that now it has turned to yellow, which means I've modified it. I've modified it, which means now I've made some new change that I need to sort of save it, make a commit of it. So what I'll then do is that, what I'll then do is that I'll get add index. That's the only file I've made a change to. I mean, sometimes, most time, I just like add everything. When I make changes, regardless of if I make it to one file, I just add everything. But if you just want to commit the one you've made change to, you can get hard. I just made a change to index.html. So I add it. Now, when I add it, what I want to do next is commit it. So when I commit it, I'm essentially like taking a snapshot of this is the current state of the code. So when I do get commit, then I do -n. Then I can add made changes to HTML file. Okay.
How did you say you even clear everything? I think clear.
Yeah, just the keyword clear. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I commit it, now it is there. Now, what I want to do is I want to push it to GitHub. Now, the first time when you're committing it for the first time, you want to remote add. So remote add is sort of linking it to a particular folder. So remote add origin. And every time when you create a new folder, it gives you like the, okay, I'll probably not come again, but it gives you the command. So you can just, please give me a second.
Mm.
Yeah, so when you every time, the very first time you would want to remote add it. So remote add is creating like a link between your the repository on GitHub and this local in it. So I'm remote adding origin. Yeah, so that means that every time I push it, it will go into this particular folder. So you do get remote add, then the link to, but every time when you create a repo, they'll give you this link. So, and they give you the command, so you can just copy it. Now, because I've already done it, when I want to push new changes, I don't have to do it again. So now, if after I commit, all I have to do is I push it. So push.u origin main. So I'm pushing to the main. So when I push, if I go back into GitHub and I refresh, you can see that I made a change to this one 1 minute ago. So now I've changed the HTML. But then because I'm tracking it, I can go back to like the previous version before I made the change and stuff like that. Now ask me the questions and let's answer them.
Well, I made a mistake somewhere, so I'm just trying to catch up. Yeah, I think remote. Add. Wait, I add. Okay, no, I don't. I commit. Yeah.
Yeah, by the way, have you created the repository on GitHub? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So I mean, the command should be there. Sometimes you just copy and come and paste it. Like the get
Oh,
remote,
okay.
just copy that one and paste it. Yeah.
Get in it and add a commit, first commit. Okay, I did that. Get to main. Yeah, well, can you explain the main, the branch that's main again, and main?
Okay, so I have slides on branch. So let me just show you. So
Okay.
sometimes so branches are like separate lines of development. So for example, the main is like the actual one, but sometimes if you are building like maybe a new feature, you don't want to directly like make the change into the main one. So what you do is that you can like create like a different line. So what you want to do is I could maybe do, and I guess I'll walk you through the command, but I could do like get branch. So if you look here, you can see that I'm currently on the main branch. So the main branch is the main thing where like the main thing is. But then if I want to make changes and I don't want to make it directly into the code, I can create a branch. So a branch is like, think of like you have the tree, you have the branch. So the branch is like the extension of the tree. So you can create a branch and then do everything you want to do there. So if I wanted to like test out maybe like some new things, instead of doing it directly in the main thing, I'll create a branch. So I can do like get branch, like maybe new feature,
Mm.
get branch, new feature. So when I do git branch new feature, it means I've created a new branch. Then I can do like get, don't worry, I have all the commands. I'll send it to you. Get checkout new, call it new feature. So get checkout new feature. So when I do get checkout new feature, you can see that the branch has changed to new feature. So now I have a different branch where now I can like do like other things. So now when I make changes, I'm not making it on the new branch. So every change I make now will be like on this new feature branch. So I'm no longer doing it on the main branch. Like I've created a copy of the code. I've created a copy of the code and now I can do things here. So now I can like start doing things and testing it out. Like, so sometimes if you have a new feature idea you want to build, you don't build it directly into your new branch, like your main branch. Because then if it breaks something, it will break everything. So now like it means your whole application is broken. So if you want to test out new things, you don't do it like directly on your main branch. You create like a different branch, then you do it there. Then when you're done and everything works, what you can then do is that you can now merge that feature, that branch into your main branch. So for example, if I had a new feature and I've tested it and I'm like, oh, now everything works, we are solid, I can come and I can do like get merge, get merge main. Sorry, get merge, it's called new feature, get merge. Let me check out first. So if you want to leave a branch, you check out, like the way you check out of a hotel, get checkout. So I've switched back to main. Now I can merge the new feature. So I can do get merge new feature. So already up to date. Okay. I mean, I didn't really make any change. So that's what the main is. So the main is like the main branch of your code. So if you want to make any change, you can directly, I mean, if it's not a big application, you can do it like on your main branch. But if you want to like test out new things and you don't want to, especially if you have an application that's already running and people are using it, you don't want to make changes directly in the main, because if something breaks, it means that your application will stop working and all your users cannot use it. So you create like a branch and you check out, like you create a branch. So the way you create a branch is get branch, the name of the branch, whatever you want to call it. Then you move into that branch, so get checkout, the name of that branch, you move into it. Then you do all the work there. When you do all the work there and you test it and everything works, then you can merge it into your main so that at least if there was anything, it won't break it. So the reason when you're committing the first time, you commit to the main is that, I mean, that's the first time you're committing. So you're saying that you want to push this code to your main branch. I don't know if it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's I think that's what you're asking me about. So get branch. So when you're starting, you're saying that your branch is the main. So you want to be on the main branch. So the main branch is like the main branch. It's just like main. It's like if you deploy your application or if you have your application running or run off the main branch. So whatever you are running or run off the main branch. So I'm saying that I want to use the main branch. So get branch and main. That's why you have that command. So you branch to the main. Yeah. Then you add remote origin. So you only add remote origin the very first time when you're like pushing code from your local get repo to your GitHub. But subsequently, it will already be linked. So this first time it will link it. So it remotely link it. So subsequently, when you want to make changes, you don't have to. Subsequently, when you want to push things to that GitHub repo, you don't have to do get remote add. All you have to do is just push it. So subsequently, let me just does that make sense, by the way? Let me clear this. First of all, have you been able to push the current code?
Yeah.
So is it on your GitHub now?
Yeah. Just a minute. Let me check. So I'll see it when
So if you refresh the repository, or if you go back into that repository, like now you should be able to see the changes, or you should be able to see the things that you've saved.
Hello. Yeah. Custom. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So now
Yeah.
if you
Custom.
yeah. So now if you want to, for example, if you made changes and you want to push it, it's the same procedure. First of all, the things you don't want to do is you don't want to initialize the Git folder already because you've already initialized it. So if you initialize it the first time, that's all. You don't have to do that ever again, especially for the same project. So if you initialize the folder, you don't have to initialize again, and you don't have to remote add again if you do it the first time. So now if you make changes, for example, I guess make more changes. Oh, sorry. Paragraph. I mean, if someone looks at my GitHub, they'll be like, why am I sending random things? So if I made a new change, now it's on track. So now we'll go through the same procedure again. Like if I make new changes, or if I do, like if I build something, a new extension, the first procedure is to add it. It's always the same thing. So you get used to it quickly, the more you use GitHub. So the first procedure is you add it. I mean, I guess I can just add everything. When I add it, the next thing is I have to add them. I have to commit it. So commit is like taking a picture of it. So if I commit it, then I add a message, more changes to the HTML. So I commit it. Now, after I've committed it, because I already have linked it and everything, all I have to do is push it. So you push your code. The way you push it is git push dash u, and you want to push it to the main. So origin main. So this is the command. So then you push it. And when you push it, it'll take a few seconds. Now you see that so I mean, because I've already set the remote when we did the first time, it knows which exact folder to push this code into. So when you set the remote, it just like links it that every time I make a change, like push it into this particular repository on my GitHub. So it says that it's now in this thing. So if I go back into here and I refresh, I can see that I've made changes to this. Now, every change I make, what is happening is that it's being tracked. Like all the changes I make is being tracked. So I could go back to like the very first version of my code. So now if I open, you can see that this green thing is like the recent change I have made to it. So showing one changes to two addition. So this is the like most recent 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 change. Sometimes if you make changes and like somebody else makes changes and there's like a conflict, it will show you that, oh, there's a merge conflict. So I can't merge this. You made this change. This person made these changes. Maybe I added something that was already there, and somebody, when they were making change, they removed that thing. So now there's a conflict. It will show you like where the conflict is, then you can resolve the conflict. So that's why we use GitHub so that we can like keep track of like the changes we are making. Because imagine like if you're working and everybody's making changes, you can't tell what change the person has made. You can't tell what we had before we made the changes. Imagine like it'll be like chaos. So I mean, because I know that if I delete something, we'll never know what was there. And when if it's not working now, we have to rebuild it again. Like we have to go and write the whole thing again. So that's like the whole thing. Any questions? Feel free,
No,
ask it. Are you sure? Ask other questions.
I'm coming. Just, I think now I'm actually stuck. I don't know what I did, but
Yeah. What is it? Are you stuck in Vim?
yeah. No, no, like as in I can't type anything in the terminal.
Yeah. What were you doing the git commit?
Yeah, the first one, yeah, I have the, I'm coming. I'll show you. I'll show
Do
you.
you want to share your screen?
No, I can put in the chat. Right.
Okay. Get. I'm coming. Let me zoom this. Get remote add origin. git push. Oh, so it says that Faith, read me. Did you just copy? I think you copied all
Yeah.
the commands from the GitHub thing.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah,
should have left out the readme.
yeah. So now you can't. Are you saying you can't type? Do like Control C.
Let me see. Control C. Oh, okay. So okay.
Yeah, but
Okay. Yeah, it's working now. Uh,
yeah, I was like, we had
I
done most of it. The only thing that
mm,
was left was like the Git branch and the remote add to your origin. Like, because then it's just the name of like the link to the repo. So those were like the two main things. So Git branch, then Git remote add. Then yeah.
oh, I lost you a bit. Can you say it again?
Oh, sorry, I think I was muted. I was just saying that.
No, it was breaking.
Oh, okay. So I was just saying that from your message, I mean, we had done most of the commands that comes from the GitHub like thing. The only thing that was left was like the Git branch and the remote add origin, because you can only get the link to the repo when you create the repo on GitHub. So I
Yeah.
guess the only two things is to branch main. And I mean, you don't even need to branch main because you're already on main. So since you're already on main, you don't need to branch main, then just remote
Mm,
add origin, then just push it. Yeah.
yeah.
So I mean,
Mhm.
initially I used to have like the commands like written on a sticky note because I couldn't remember. So like I wrote it on a sticky note
Okay.
and I pasted it like next to me so that I'll know like this is what to do. So I mean,
Yeah.
initially you can do that. Then just keep commenting. And what I used to do, I guess what you want to do is that just so that you're practicing. And what happens is that whenever you make a git commit, oh, whenever you make a Git commit, you get like this green square. So green square is like your activity on GitHub. So like apparently I code every day because I don't have a life. But when you code and you push to GitHub, for every day you push a code, you get like this green comment. And I guess for now, what you want to do is that like every day try pushing one code because when it comes to the time when you want to like find an engineering job, just so that it gives you like the advantage that, oh, like when they check your GitHub, they'll see that you've been pushing code. So just give the assumption that you've been coding for a while. I mean, because all this time you are coding. So you want to like start pushing to GitHub so that it's just like creating like a track record for you that you've been coding for like a while. So that won't be like the time you started looking for the job is when you started coding, because right now you're coding.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, when I have like a repo, when I used to, I mean, I still do code was like occasionally. So like I had a repo for like, even though it's private, but I had a repo for like code wars. So every time I would solve a code war, I would push it to like when I'll do an 8K, when I'll do, so when I do a code war, like I'll push it to GitHub and stuff like that. And if you want to, so if you want to, what you can do is you can create a repo, call it Code Wars. Then you can, I guess, you can create. So when you link it, then you can create like a folder for Code Wars. So every time you do it, you add it, you push it the same way. So every day push, try and push every day, like push code every day, so that you get like the green squares. I think it'll be like in your advantage when you finally want to like start. I mean, right now you know enough. It's just you know enough because most jobs you can do HTML, CSS, small JavaScript. You should be able to get like a job in the Netherlands. So right now it's just like just practicing so that you're like confident in your abilities, and you should easily be able to get like a role.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I guess we have like 16 minutes, but let me just quickly. So yeah, so branch is like I was saying, a branch is a separate line. So if you want to like test out things, you don't want to directly do it on the main branch. You want to like create a branch. So like an extension of the code, do everything there. So the way you do that is you use git branch, name of the branch. Then when you do it, to actually move into that branch, you check out. So get check out the name of that branch. So then you switch to that branch. Then you can do all the code and things you want there. You can still push that branch to GitHub. Like if you come here, uh, like, well, someone and I were working on a project. So like every time we push, like we create like if I'm building a new thing, I won't do it in like the main branch. If you're doing a new thing, you won't do it. So like I was building like the product form, I'll create a branch for it. Like when we're building like the product dashboard, when we're building the product, we'll create a branch for it so that we'll build it on that branch. And then when we push it, somebody will review it. So if everything is okay, then they'll merge it. Then we'll merge it into the main one. Then now we'll delete like the previous branch. So that's what branches is for. You create a branch for like new things. You do it on it. Then if everything is correct, you can merge it back into like the main. Yeah, so yeah, that's like the main thing. But I guess right now the thing you have to get used to is like how to create like how to initialize the Git repo, so Git init, then how to add into the Git repo, so you Git add all the things you want to add, then how to commit it, like take a snapshot of it. This is the current part of my code, so git commit -m, the message, you commit it. Then if you want to push it to GitHub, you push. So if you've not linked it already, you get like the remote, you create the repository on GitHub, you get the link, you can just copy the command. So git remote add origin, the username name of my project. Then after you've linked it remotely, now you can start pushing to that. So now you push it every time you make change. After you've done the first time, every time you make change, your commands will only be 4. Git add, git commit, git, I know, so git add, git commit, git push. Yeah, after you've done it the first time, every subsequent change, or when you're pushing, your commands will only be 3. So git add, git commit, and git push. Git add, git commit, git push. So yeah, you do it, you get used to it. So yeah, that is like, I guess, I mean, we can close early, but any questions, anything you want me to go over? No, we have some time, so I mean, it's 10 for you, but we have 30 more minutes. I mean, if you don't have anything, but if you have anything, happy to use the rest of the time to go over it.
I'm just checking. Well, it's clear. It's clear.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, you can just, I mean, every day do one code wall, push it to GitHub as a way of getting the green squares, as a way of like practicing like JavaScript, and as a way of actually also practicing like how to use GitHub. So you're killing like 3 birds with 1 stone. Yeah, so just like, yeah, I mean, if you have any questions, you can Google it, like
Yeah.
how to push, or if you want, you can also like just message me or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, today we've gone over terminal commands, a few terminal commands, I guess the most useful ones. If you need any other terminal command, I guess you can always Google, but these are the ones you most likely use all the time. Uh, we've gone over Git. We said Git is version control, and we said GitHub is a web hosting service for like Git repository. So if you have a Git repository, you can host it or you can put it on the cloud using GitHub. You can use Bitbucket or, but here, I mean, these things use what everybody uses. So most companies use GitHub, so you just use GitHub. We already have all these things. So yeah, thank you for joining. Any questions before I wrap up? So I'll stop recording now.